Imagine the biggest names in hip-hop, the ones who once strutted with untouchable confidence, now scrambling to issue public apologies. Drake, Young Thug, even Future, all suddenly softening their stance, desperately trying to repair broken alliances as Kendrick Lamar's shadow looms larger than ever. But here's the real question. Why now? Why, after years of arrogance, bravado, and so-called dominance, are these rappers bowing their heads? This isn't just about bruised egos. This is about survival. Drake, once considered untouchable, is spiraling. Young Thug, fresh out of a legal nightmare, is clinging to whatever credibility he has left. And all of it, every apology, every reconciliatory phone call, points to one chilling reality. Kendrick Lamar already told us the party was over. And now the lights are flickering out. We're talking Drake and Young Thug's fragile alliance, the apology heard across the internet, and how this reveals the slow collapse of an empire Kendrick has been dismantling brick by brick. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. When Young Thug publicly apologized to Drake, it wasn't just another headline, it was a signal flare. Something deeper was happening. Think about it. Thug, the self-proclaimed slime boss, a man who built his reputation on loyalty and intimidation, suddenly going soft? That's not just unusual. That's desperate. Now let's be real. Rappers don't apologize unless their back is against the wall. Hip-hop is built on pride, dominance, and the illusion of control. When Thug took to the internet, clearing the air with Drake, he wasn't just patching up a friendship. He was sending a message to the entire industry. I can't afford to be your enemy right now. But why? Why would Young Thug, fresh out of jail, trying to rebuild his empire, feel the need to make peace with Drake, a man whose own career is sliding off a cliff? Because Thug knows what we all know. The rap game has shifted. The balance of power has tilted. And suddenly, being on the wrong side of history isn't just bad for business. It's a death sentence. This is where the irony hits. Drake, the so-called global superstar, the man with all the hits, is now being treated like a lifeline instead of a liability. Thug's apology wasn't about respect. It was about survival. He sees the empire crumbling. He knows Kendrick's dominance has left everyone scrambling for alliances. And here's the chilling part. This apology? It didn't strengthen their bond. It exposed their weakness. Because once the mask of toughness slips, once the world sees that even rap's wildest figures are bending the knee, the predators start circling. Drake has always prided himself on being 10 steps ahead, dropping the right record at the right moment, cozying up to whoever's hot, and spinning his losses into clever memes. But lately, none of those tricks are working. His moves reek of panic. Think about his recent run. Instead of solidifying his dominance after Kendrick's takedown, he's been caught fumbling. Half-hearted diss tracks, awkward collabs, and public stunts that feel more like distractions than strategy. Drake isn't leading the conversation anymore, he's reacting to it. And that's exactly why Young Thug's apology happened. When the biggest artist in the world starts looking shaky, the people around him panic. They know that if Drake collapses, their own alliances, cosigns, and credibility collapse with him. Thug wasn't apologizing to Drake the man, he was apologizing to Drake's brand. But here's the catch. Aligning with a sinking ship doesn't save you. It drags you down faster. Every peace offering, every soft statement, every attempt at unity only confirms what Kendrick already showed us, that these so-called titans of rap aren't as powerful as they want you to believe. Drake is desperate. He's trying to rewrite the narrative, but every move exposes more cracks. And Young Thug, by tying himself to that desperation, has made his own empire look just as fragile. On the surface, Drake and Young Thug's reconciliation looks like brotherhood. Smiles, handshakes, and Instagram posts that scream, "We're good now." But if you zoom in, the cracks are everywhere. Drake has a reputation, one that the industry whispers about constantly. He aligns with artists when it benefits him, then quietly distances himself the moment they stop being useful. We've seen it with Meek Mill, The Weeknd, even Kanye. The pattern never changes. Drake plays friend until the tides shift, then suddenly he's gone. And if you're Young Thug, deep down, you know that apology you gave? It doesn't guarantee protection. It just buys you time. Second, consider the pressure. Thug is fresh out of prison, trying to rebuild his empire from the ground up. Drake, on the other hand, is fighting to keep his from collapsing entirely. Two men in survival mode don't form unbreakable alliances. They form fragile pacts built on fear. And fear doesn't last. And then there's the Kendrick factor. Kendrick Lamar's dominance has turned alliances into liabilities. Anyone tied too closely to Drake right now risks being dragged into the storm. Thug may have extended the olive branch, but if Kendrick's movement grows, and it's already unstoppable, how long before Thug decides that being next to Drake is more of a curse than a blessing? That's the crack no apology can fix: trust. Drake knows he can't fully trust Thug. Thug knows he can't fully trust Drake. And when two kings sit at the same table without trust, betrayal isn't just possible, it's inevitable. And that leads us to the bigger question. What happens when this fragile alliance finally snaps? Because if history is any guide, the fallout could be explosive enough to change the entire landscape of rap. While Drake and Young Thug scramble to fix broken bonds, Kendrick Lamar is doing the exact opposite. He's sitting back, watching, and letting the chaos unfold. And that silence, that's power. Think about it. Kendrick doesn't need to apologize. He doesn't need to patch up old friendships. He doesn't even need to say Drake's name anymore. His dominance has already been cemented. The mere presence of his success, the tours selling out, the cultural anthems like Not Like Us still ringing through the streets, is enough to keep his rivals in panic mode. Every apology Drake and Thug make only validates Kendrick's narrative. He said the rap game was full of frauds and weak alliances. And now, they're proving him right in real time. Drake scrambling to stay relevant, Thug begging to rebuild trust. These aren't the moves of kings. They're the moves of men trying not to drown while Kendrick sails calmly ahead. And here's the genius. Kendrick doesn't have to engage directly. He's turned the rap game into a chessboard where his silence forces his enemies to expose themselves. They make mistakes, they show fear, and they fracture under pressure, all while Kendrick collects win after win without lifting a hand. That's the silent advantage. While the so-called soft rapper alliance bends under the weight of apologies and fake unity, Kendrick only grows stronger. Because in hip-hop, nothing screams dominance louder than not having to say a word while your rivals crumble on their own. Kendrick Lamar has always been methodical. He doesn't waste verses, he doesn't waste features, and he definitely doesn't waste moves. So while Drake and Young Thug scramble to hold their shaky alliance together, Kendrick is quietly positioning himself for something bigger. Something that could end this saga once and for all. Let's connect the dots. Every tour stop on Kendrick's Grand National Tour hasn't just been a concert, it's been a statement. From the cultural dominance of Not Like Us to the symbolic performances that paint Drake as out of touch, Kendrick has been building momentum brick by brick. And when an artist like Kendrick builds momentum, it's never without purpose. Here's the chilling part. Kendrick doesn't need to drop a diss tomorrow. He doesn't even need to speak Drake's name again. All he has to do is wait, because the cracks are widening on their own. But when he does move, it won't be subtle. It'll be devastating. Industry insiders are already whispering about Kendrick's next project. A deluxe release, a surprise feature, maybe even another scorched earth verse aimed at the culture, not just Drake. Whatever it is, the stage is set for a moment that could push Drake and Thug's fragile empire past the point of no return. And that's the beauty of Kendrick's strategy. He doesn't need to rush. His rivals are bleeding themselves dry. When he finally decides to strike, it won't just be a battle, it'll be an execution. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. What happens to the rest of the industry when Kendrick makes his move? Because Drake and Thug aren't the only ones caught in this web. Drake and Young Thug's shaky apology tour hasn't just exposed their own vulnerability. It's rippling across the entire industry, forcing rappers to pick sides before the collapse swallows them too. Take Future, for example. For years, he and Drake presented themselves as brothers in arms. Two icons running the charts, touring together, feeding off each other's momentum. But as Drake's image continues to crumble, Future's loyalty looks less like friendship and more like liability. How long before he distances himself, quietly stepping away to protect his own brand? Then there's Travis Scott. He's built his empire on massive spectacles, festivals, and fan loyalty. But behind the lights, there's tension. Aligning with Drake in this moment feels dangerous. Travis knows the culture is shifting, and Kendrick's rise has made Drake cosigns look like sinking investments. The smart play? Stay neutral, or lean closer to the wave Kendrick is creating. Even the new generation is watching closely. Artists like JID, Baby Keem, and others see the landscape clearly. Siding with Drake and Thug now could stunt their careers before they peak. Meanwhile, standing with Kendrick, or at least staying out of his way, keeps the doors of credibility wide open. And that's the ripple effect. Drake and Thug's desperation isn't happening in a vacuum. Every apology, every shaky alliance, every clumsy move forces other rappers to reassess their positions. It's a chain reaction, and the industry knows what happens when a weak link snaps. The entire chain is exposed. The question isn't if rappers will start jumping ship. It's when. And when that wave of distancing begins, Drake and Thug's empire won't just look fragile. It'll look abandoned. For more than a decade, the hip-hop hierarchy seemed untouchable. Drake was the commercial giant, Young Thug the cultural disruptor, Future, the trap god. Together, they built an illusion of invincibility, a power structure that looked too big to fail. But here's the truth. Nothing lasts forever. And right now, we're watching that empire crumble in real time. Think about how fragile it's become. Drake, once the architect of trends, now feels like he's chasing them. Young Thug, once the fearless innovator, is now apologizing just to stay afloat. Future, Travis, and others are already showing signs of distancing themselves, like rats quietly leaving a sinking ship. What used to look like dominance now looks like desperation. And this collapse isn't just about music, it's about culture. Hip-hop has always rewarded authenticity, resilience, and vision. Kendrick Lamar embodies all three. Meanwhile, Drake and Thug have built their recent moves on clout, alliances, and shortcuts. And shortcuts always run out of road. Here's the brutal reality. When a power structure collapses, it doesn't collapse slowly. It collapses suddenly. One weak apology, one failed album, one viral misstep could be the domino that sends the whole empire crashing down. And the fans? They won't wait around. They'll crown new leaders and celebrate new voices. What we're witnessing right now isn't just the end of an era. It's the rewriting of the rules. The torch isn't being passed politely. It's being snatched away. And the ones who thought they were untouchable are learning the hardest lesson of all. Hip-hop doesn't forgive weakness. But here's the final question we have to ask. What comes after the collapse? Because once the old guard falls, a new order always rises. And the person shaping that new order isn't Drake, isn't Thug, it's Kendrick Lamar. So what does the future look like now that the old pillars of power are crumbling? The answer is simple, a new era. An era defined not by clout or alliances, but by authenticity, artistry, and cultural weight. And at the center of it all stands Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick has done what few rappers in history have managed. He's shifted the culture without compromising himself. He didn't need to play the numbers game, he didn't need industry tricks, and he didn't need messy apologies. Instead, he let his music, his performances, and his silence do the talking. And in a culture where fans crave something real, that's the most powerful strategy of all. Meanwhile, Drake and Young Thug find themselves in survival mode. Their apologies, their attempts to patch broken alliances, their desperate stunts. It all feels like the last gasps of an empire that once seemed indestructible. They may still have money, they may still have influence, but the culture has moved on. And once the culture shifts, there's no going back. The future of hip-hop is already being written. It's in the stadiums chanting "Not Like Us." It's in the younger artists modeling themselves after Kendrick's authenticity instead of Drake's formula. It's in the fans demanding more substance, more truth, more weight in the music. And that's the ultimate twist. Kendrick didn't just win a battle, he reset the game. From this point forward, rappers will have to measure themselves not against chart positions or fake unity, but against the cultural dominance Kendrick has redefined. What do you think? Is this the final chapter for Drake and Young Thug, or do they still have a chance to bounce back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notification bell. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay active.